It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Well, I guess I would say that the entire border issue heated up yesterday and the day before that.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm reading this from thehill.com because you and I said, yesterday, a couple of things. We said, when we came in, we said, okay, it seems like McConnell was, the news stories were ping pong. It was like a ping pong ball. It was like, well, is he for it or is he not? And by the end of the day, it was, what we got was he is now against this border deal. Now, it still may have the votes to pass.
Right.
But it's dead on arrival in the House.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is this article in thehill.com, Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair pushes for increased Ukraine aid. Then it just talks about Senate Foreign Relations Committee Chair Ben Cardin, the Democrat from Maryland, push for the increase in aid to Ukraine. He goes on, talking about, the Ukraine stuff. And then it says Republicans in the Senate who are in favor of sending aid to Ukraine and working out a deal with Democrats on border security are staking their hopes on those who are close with former President Trump, hoping they can prevent him from sinking it. Senator Joni Ernst, just remember the Republicans that are for this bill.
Right.
Senator Joni Ernst, chair of the Senate Republican Policy Committee, requested that colleagues who have endorsed the former president ask him to stop disparaging the deal, pending a review of its details by lawmakers this week. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell told fellow Republican senators on Wednesday that being able to pass border security reforms tied with Ukraine is becoming harder than originally expected. He also noted that the former president's antagonism towards any border security deal could be impossible to push past. I think he was saying out loud what a lot of people are thinking on this. When the negotiations started in October, we were not in a presidential election year. This was a totally different moment on it. Now we are in the heat of the primary in a presidential election year. It's a huge campaign issue, and it kind of gets sucked into all this conversation on a Ukraine aid and border security package, said Senator James Langford. Senator Langford, he's a Republican. People don't know. Stop lying. That's not what it's about.
No, it is not.
It's not what it's about. Joni Ernst, grow up. Stop it. This isn't about Trump disparaging the deal.
But that was the story yesterday,
right.
and it's continuing today.
And
I
understanding
see the media coming out now.
Understanding is coming from Republicans.
Right. Yeah.
What's shooting down this deal is we don't care what's in the deal after you state that 5,000 people a day can cross the border instead of 8,000.
Right.
If that's, as a Republican, what you permanently wish to make law through Congress, that's got nothing to do with Donald Trump. Trump may be against it and may be telling people no. There are a heck of a lot of other Republicans that are saying the same thing.
Well, it's a very liberal position in the language of the bill, and it's a very liberal position in the way that they're handling it, making this about Trump. It's exactly what the liberals do.
This is not about a presidential election year.
No, it isn't.
It's about the problem we've had for a long time on the border that has been amplified through a billion Marshall amps to have an open border. And for Republicans to say, well, 5,000 instead of 8,000 to cross a day, and then we'll close the border every day.
Right.
That's what we want. That's insanity. That's pure insanity. That's on you. That's not on Trump. You wish to set into law, unless you've changed it in the last couple of days, and Ted Cruz attacked it, and nobody has said
I haven't seen anywhere.
That's not it. If that's not it, if you're going to close the border, if you're saying we're going to close the border will be closed. And when the border is closed, we're going to have a more liberal visa system, and we believe we should have increased legal immigration through the normal vetting process. you're going to have a much better chance of getting that through. But Republicans aren't telling you the truth here, these Republican senators.
Well, they want to take the blame off of them and put it on Trump.
Exactly. Right.
This isn't about the presidential election, but you know what? It may be about some Senate races.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
Hey, this isn't hard to figure out what the American people want. The vast majority of the American people. Then again, though, if you talk about the great majority is for something, it seems like everybody now is on the UAW Sean Fain track.
Yeah, right.
Which is the great majority will be voting for Trump because of their paycheck, but we're going to endorse Biden.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
the vast majority of people in the country want the border closed. And until the border is closed, they don't want to discuss a visa system or an increase in legal immigration.
Right.
Until you stop it. This isn't hard.
Do a clean bill for Ukraine. Right. How is that not every GOP member in the Senate right now?
Right. Clean bill on Ukraine.
Clean bill on Ukraine. We're not going to do this because the Democrats know. Well, you can pretend.
Well, let's be honest, because the Republicans are the ones that want the border tied to the Ukraine bill.
And that's why I'm saying,
yeah,
but they should know. You're not going to get. You don't have the public support on that.
Right.
How do you not know that?
I don't know.
There's no self-awareness at all.
But I also think that Democrats now want the two tied together because they know that the Republicans also want some Republicans want in the Senate want the Ukraine bill. The majority of the Republicans want a Ukraine bill. There are some out there that are vocal, but the majority want it, and they would probably get the aid. But Democrats now also believe that, no, we tie it to Ukraine because they want Ukraine, and so they're willing to compromise on it. And it should be, as you just said right there, no, we're not going to compromise. Clean bill here, clean bill there.
You know this. You know that this is coming back from the public.
Well,
you know this is flying back like a boomerang. You're not going to win this with the public.
The political, well, that's the point. The politics is the point here. You can win this.
Right.
Republicans can win this easily. It's a slam dunk. And so when Langford comes out, and I'm sorry, he's lying.
Yeah.
People may say, whoa, he's just looking at it wrong. No, he's lying. He knows exactly what this is about. It's not about that it's a presidential election year. And Joni Ernst, the same thing. Oh, this is President Trump is the one that's disturbing, is the one trying to convict. No, it's Republicans. It's voters. It's easy. This isn't rocket science to figure out what the American people want.
Don't blame Trump for your mishandling of this.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what the left does.
So I just had to read that from thehill.com because it's like, just so people know, that's where that came from yesterday, that this is Trump's fault.
Yeah.
Came from Republicans.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are doing it because they don't have the guts to tell the American people the truth.
Right.
We know the Democrats won't. We know that. We know what pathological liars they have been on the border consistently. No Republican should be lying about the border and how to solve the situation at the border.
You can win. You already on the issue. You win the border.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory, right?
Well,
I guess that's how the quote goes.
Yeah. Well, but they're doing the same thing on the expanded child tax credit.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
You're expanding welfare in a big way. Yeah, but we got a couple of tax breaks along the way.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. They're lying about it because they're not talking about the fact that this isn't about for a significant portion. It's not a tax cut. It's welfare.
Exactly.
And you need to be honest with the American public.
Yep.
We need to give more welfare to people. Don't lie, because we're going to call you on it. And I wish others would call the Republicans on it also. And be blunt about it. They're lying. They're lying about the child tax credit. They're lying about the situation at the border. Stop lying.
Yeah, Trump is very aware that it's an election year. You know, that's the whole point of running. But it seems way too many of them in the GOP have no idea it's an election year.
Well, yeah, because why don't you love it, though? Well, it's an election year. And yes, so you're a Republican,
Yeah.
And you're saying that eventually you have to be reelected, and so you should be promoting what the people that vote for you and your party want. It's all about politics.
Well, he's just doing that because it's an election year, and you're trying to tank our national security officially during an election year. And it may not be in the Senate your election year, but are you kidding me? Put a D by your name. Change parties. Get out. You're useless.
Look, No Labels is looking for people.
They sure are. I heard a commentator the other day say that No Labels, he has been told, according to his sources, who are people who are familiar with people who are familiar with the situation, that the No Labels party has already called Nikki Haley.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you see the Bill Barr story yesterday, where he came out and said, he believes there's justification for the allegation from No Labels that there's a criminal conspiracy of the Democratic Party, a criminal conspiracy to keep them as a political party. Like, whoa. Not coming from the right, but coming from the left. And that's why the whole thing is, it's like, well, yeah, but what about the Nikki Haley, the rumor going around?
Right, yeah.
That she's already been contacted. So, because that would happen not to favor the Republicans.
Right.
But to favor the Democrats.
Right.
But he said, he goes, apparently the evidence that the allegations and the evidence so far that he has seen shows, that's a distinct possibility that there's a criminal conspiracy on the left to keep No Labels.
Yeah.
From and that's interesting. I would love to know the details on it more precisely than what he said yesterday.
Right.
More specifics on that. But I just, it's these Republican senators are useless. Leave the Republican Party. For God's sakes, represent a party that the majority of your people don't be a Sean Fain. The great majority of our party wishes to
close the border.
The vast majority of our union, for Sean Fain, vast majority of our union is going to vote for Trump because they care about their paycheck. We are the leadership. We're going to vote for Biden. It's just
what it sounds like. It sounds like Tom DeLay back in the day. Come on, you conservatives. We've cut all we can cut. It's these Senate GOPers are essentially saying, our side is all worried about border security, but they don't understand we could get a deal. Everyone's using that word, deal. Deal for who? It's a great deal for the Democrats.
Yeah.
It's an extraordinary deal for the current president. And it is a death knell for the national security of this country if you create a permanent hole in our southern border.
And then we saw this coming up, even some feedback that we got. Well, Trump is doing this because he wants to pass the bill, and then he gets credit for it when he becomes president. No, I can guarantee you Trump would not want this bill.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board.
We talked about that, too, not mentioning the 5,000 coming. Look, if that's changed,
then someone needs to make a big deal about
right,
that.
then I'm willing to listen to you, because that could be the selling point. If you've changed and you're no longer going to do the 5,000 people allowed in before we close the border every day, which
Right.
means you must have the ability to close the border, and you're not.
Right.
But you're going to allow 1.8 million people in, not through a legal immigration system, but those just coming to the border, allowing them in. Sorry. That's a no-go.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether Trump is going to be the nominee or DeSantis is going to be the nominee. You weren't going to ever get that by the House.
And I didn't see anyone correct Ted Cruz.
No, nobody corrected Ted Cruz when he explained.
Been a couple of days.
5,000 is still there from what we know, but he said it's being hidden. Nobody's able to see it.
Right.
And they keep saying, well, why are you against it when we show it to you? What do you mean? So what you're saying is we have this information. You won't show us the rest of it, but Trump and Republicans are at fault for not wanting it.
Right.
I'm glad it's a Friday because my head's about to explode.
Because it would be an easy win if you're going to write that story. It would be, you could make a compelling argument, at least.
Yeah, you could. That the Democrats and Republicans
Ted
have
Cruz
agreed to close the border.
had it wrong. That's no longer in the bill.
Right. We're closing the border. And but we would change the visa system once we close the border, and we're relatively sure that we're back to the number of people that were coming in at the Trump administration. Because you can't close the border. Some people are going to get through, as we know.
Right.
But when we get it back down to the level of where Trump was, or whatever, how you write it, then we will start opening up the visa system, and Congress will decide what we wish to do on legal immigration and what the level should be coming into the country.
Right.
You could sell that to a significant portion of Republicans. You can't sell this. You can't sell this to the American public.
No.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Many people think dogs are not very sensitive to super cold conditions. Wrong.
Just like cold can be dangerous for us, it absolutely can be for them too, even the winter hardy breeds.
Especially when combined with wind and snow and icing conditions. USDA veterinarian Dr. Dawn Fitzhugh.
Even the furriest of animals, that wind comes along and it can separate their hair and get right down to their skin and make them feel super chilled. And so the wind chill can be dangerous for them, just like it is for us.
Dogs can even suffer from frostbite, especially around the ears. Don says also if you walk your dog on snowy or icy surfaces, chunks of ice can sometimes wedge in there between the dog's paw pads.
And that can be really painful for them.
And so if the dog limps or refuses to walk, that might be the reason. Or it might be the dog is just too cold, maybe suffering from hypothermia, especially if the dog is shivering. Fitzhugh says that's when we need to get that dog out of the cold, into someplace warm and dry. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. We do have an audio cut of the week coming up here following the bottom of the hour. Did you see the ratings for CNN?
They actually have some?
During the Iowa, and this is the Iowa caucuses and
right.
everything else. I mean, plunged behind the History Channel and an obscure Western network. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Got beat by Hallmark, the History Channel, and INSP, a South Carolina-based channel founded in the late 1970s by Christian televangelists. Wow.
Wow.
The Bonus Show.
And here's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. You know, when I was just, I had mentioned to you the ratings of CNN, which are just in prime time, they're like in the 300,000 range.
Yeah.
Which understand we have 330 million people
Right.
in the United States. And Fox topped it in prime time with like 2 million viewers. But it does show you, because we talked about this before, about the influence of the media. And we don't get it as much anymore. We got it as recently as probably 2020, 2021. Well, the media controls everything and people don't know the truth. Well,
Right.
as you can see through the polls, the people know. They know what's going on, which means they're getting their information through the internet. But because when you look at Fox and, you know, during prime time, 2 million, if they've got a great night with, you know, something spectacular going on, they might pull 4. But you think of the networks when you had the 3 networks back, you know, even before Fox in the 70s. You had 3 networks. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I mean, that was all the news. And they might have been pulling in, 20, 30 million viewers, whatever. But total, if you take them all, they were pulling a heck of a lot more than news on cable. And so it's the evidence that people get their information from the internet. That's why the public does know what's going on.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, who waits for news?
No one.
Yeah, I'm not going to wait. I'm not going to wait for news. I may wait for opinion, but I don't wait for the news. And so, but when you look at it, even though, you know, this isn't a criticism of Fox at all. I mean, that they've done great, and they have a huge loyal audience. They make tons of money.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is, when you look at the entire country as a whole, very few people watch cable news.
Yeah.
Even if you're at the top of the heap.
Well, especially with cable subscriptions dying off.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what cable news does going forward. I mean, they can try all day with the CNN Plus, and I know Fox has Fox News Nation, but that's not the same as your broadcast, your cable news broadcast. And that's going to have to change somewhere at some point if that trend continues.
Will they go to free streaming?
I don't know free streaming, but maybe $4.99 a month, $5.99 a month. I don't know, and I don't know if that's where that threshold is from the viewer. If they're willing to pay that, I don't know.
If you stay in the cable and then let's say CNN decided to, or not CNN, but I'm talking about Fox, that because they've got a bigger audience.
Mm-hmm.
That if Fox decided to go to stream, you know, we're going to stay on the cable networks, but we're also going to be on Pluto.
Yeah.
For example. Right. Well, Pluto is free.
Mm-hmm.
You know, could they make a deal because they're running enough ads to make a profit that, you know, but if the cable audience is shrinking because people, you know, aren't getting satellite and cable anymore, and that's been your audience, and you want to go to a streaming service that will where you can appear because you've already got the ad revenue.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if that will happen. I know that Fox News Now is on.
Yeah.
They have a 24-hour streaming service that you can...
All of them. ABC has
Yeah.
that. NBC has it. CBS
you're right.
has it. And they don't have a large audience at any given point, but they can cover some breaking stories if it's not big enough for, you know, breaking in on your normal network. They can do breaking news stories and stuff like that. So there are those. But I think it's the fact that when it comes to news, you just hit it. People can get their news anywhere. The content isn't exclusive until you get to opinion.
No, you're right.
And so if I can get that story from multiple sources on my phone, tell me why I have to pay for it.
Unless you have for example, unless you have a particular style, I would look at, and I'm not in TV, but if you go back to, for example, Paul Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Harvey had a style, but he really wasn't giving blunt opinions.
Right.
But he had that particular style of which was unique to him.
And
that
and
people,
covering
that people
things
love.
that it wasn't your typical. It wasn't like he was coming in with a news update.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was still an exclusive content kind of thing that you were only going to get from him.
But style style also fits for opinion too, because you have a particular
Yeah.
style that people
Right.
that people like. But I just find that all interesting, especially with CNN, in the 300,000s. I mean, that is so incredibly low ratings. It's like, where do you go? What do you do with that?
I don't know. I mean, could they be swallowed up by one of the big streaming companies, the different news groups? I don't know why streaming would take that on, because I don't think the streaming audience isn't there for that. Even though live sports is now moving to streaming, it's not the same as news. Sports is still entertainment, and I don't know that people would tune in for news to a streamer. I don't know that your audience is going to be consistent enough. You'd have to show me those numbers.
Yeah, that's the question as
Right.
we move to streaming. What will actually work on streaming and what won't? I mean,
And is there
CNN Plus? Did.
Yeah, is there a need for 24-hour news channels? Is there a demand for it anymore?
That's a good question. And I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know.
We shall see.
Mhm.
All right, time for our audio cut of the week, and it's the Ted Cruz from the other day about the so-called quote border deal, or the negotiations for a border deal, and he covers it all. We did cover, and I read the article from thehill.com that showed that Republicans, Senator Ernst, Langford of Oklahoma, pushing this stuff that this is Trump pushing Republicans not to want this deal. No, it's not.
No.
It's that, from what we know, the deal stinks based on just the one thing that we know. Doesn't matter what's after it. If you're saying we're going to allow 5,000 people just to cross the border if they get there every single day,
Right.
anything else afterwards doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that's not Trump. Trump may be against it, but I love it. Wow, it's a presidential season. Yeah, because if it wasn't a presidential season, Trump would be okay with it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's so weak. And to hear this weakness coming from Republicans, we know it's there. But when they try to justify it, and when they lie, God, and they're such poor liars. I mean, Langford told when he was talking about it, that was a lie.
Yep.
Oh, the presidential season. No, it's not the presidential season. It's the deal sucks.
Yeah.
To quote, what's his name?
Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers, yes.
Yeah.
Republicans don't suck.
Yeah. Suck less. Would you?
Suck less, Republicans. But here's Ted Cruz, because he really lays it out. He lays everything out. And I don't know if I disagree with, well, I've listened to this probably 5 or 6 times since it came out. I don't disagree with anything he says here.
No, I can't find anything I disagree with.
The Biden border crisis is an absolute humanitarian disaster, and Democrats don't care. Last year, 853 migrants died crossing illegally into this country. Alejandro Mayorkas didn't even know how many had died because he didn't care. When I brought 19 senators down to the border, we saw a man who had drowned floating in the Rio Grande. Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands upon thousands of children were brutalized and sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats don't care. Last year, thousands of women were sexually assaulted by human traffickers, and Democrats do not give a damn. Last year, more than 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses from Chinese fentanyl flooding across the southern border, and Democrats do not give a damn. Now, you may say, oh, come on, that's harsh. They care. They care. Somewhere in their hearts, they care about all the people suffering and dying. Baloney. Because if they cared, they would stop it. If you cared about the children being raped at the border, you would say no more. When Joe Biden came in, we had the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. He inherited success, and he deliberately broke it. Democrats want these open borders. And this bill, this mysterious bill, that is buried down in the basement of Chuck Schumer's office. All of you have a living as reporters. Ask yourself, why have you not read the text of the bill? There's a reason. As bad as we think the bill is, I promise you it's worse. The people pushing this deal know if the American people knew what was in it, they would be against it. This supplemental bill is a kamikaze plane in a box canyon with no exit, headed for a train wreck. If you look at this bill, the bill is not designed to fix this problem. By the way, the single greatest national security threat to America, this right here. I think the odds of a major terrorist attack in the United States are higher today than they've been any time since September 11th. You know what? In that spike, how many Hamas terrorists are there? How many Hezbollah terrorists are there? And what are we going to say when they carry out an attack here like October 7th in Israel? This bill is not designed to fix the problem. This bill normalizes 5,000 people a day coming in. 5,000 people a day is over 1.8 million a year. That's called an invasion. By the way, under Joe Biden, we've had 9.6 million. So the great Republican compromise is we're for 2/3 of Joe Biden's open borders. We'll let in 6 million instead of 9 million. This makes utterly no sense. And there's a reason. Republican leadership is like Charlie Brown with Lucy and the football. And over again, they run for the football, and over again, Lucy Schumer pulls it away. And Republican leadership lands on their ass. They entered this negotiation saying, we will only do what Chuck Schumer will agree to. He doesn't want to fix this. He wants it to continue. So negotiating with Chuck Schumer on securing the border is like putting Hannibal Lecter in charge of a Go Vegan ad campaign. He might dine on your liver with a healthy side of fava beans, but it's not going to remotely do what the suggested objective is. Final point. Not only is this bill utterly ineffective in fixing the problem, but it's designed to fail. The chances of this bill passing the House of Representatives, I can quantify it mathematically. The chances of this bill passing the House are 0.000%. It ain't going to pass. At lunch, we had a vigorous discussion at lunch yesterday. I asked leadership, why on earth would you be teeing up a vote with every Democrat and 10 or 12 Republicans that has no chance of passing the House? It's not going to become law, and I get it. Leadership really wants Ukraine funding. But that doesn't happen unless you get a bill that can pass the House.
There you go. And the interesting thing is, because that actually is from 2 days ago, I didn't see any criticism on social media of what the substance of what Ted Cruz was saying. This is when it seemed to pivot to, there's a deal and we can get a deal, but it's all Trump's fault. And it was coming from Republicans, and that was pure BS.
It was garbage.
That was coming from Langford and Joni Ernst, whatever.
Right.
It's all bull. Nobody will address the substance of it like Ted Cruz was doing. And nobody's saying that what Ted Cruz was saying was wrong. You didn't see that. You didn't see a defense even by Democrats of the deal saying, look, Cruz is completely wrong. You're going to love this deal. Nobody is saying that.
No, I have heard no correction on this, on what you just heard from Ted Cruz.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Carly, and I'm Gary McNamara. The other thing you don't see Democrats or the Republicans that are in favor of this so-called, quote, deal. You don't hear any of them out there promoting the specifics of it and why it's so great.
Right. Where are they?
All you hear is the specifics being hit upon. And all you have to do is, it's the first one. 5,000. Well, we're going to go from 8,000 a day to 5,000 a day. Do you remember when it was Jay Johnson during the Obama administration, I believe? Yeah, where he said 1,000 a day is a complete nightmare.
Right.
And so here we are a few years later, and it's we're talking the Republicans. Oh yeah, we want 5,000 to cross the border a day. That's what we'll do. And it's like it's pure insanity. It's not what the American public wants. They know they can't sell it to the American public, so they keep talking about a deal and then brought in Trump yesterday. And the Republicans were the ones that brought in Trump.
Right.
As if, well, the deal's got to be good because Trump doesn't like it.
Right. Trying to blame him for the deal.
Yeah.
This is your mistake.
Yep.
Own it.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.